Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, March 4th. Good afternoon to everyone out there. Free agency is less than a week away. Legal tampering period starts next Monday, March 10th. Crazy that it is already here. And we're doing our best to get you prepared for what could happen with the Jaguars. The Jaguars are a team with a lot of cap flexibility. They currently have projected $38 million in cap space per overthecap.com. And they have a lot of different ways to potentially create more cap space. I said it on Club Jaguar last week. I honestly would be more surprised if Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are both in Jacksonville next year than if both of them are here. I would be very surprised if both of them are here. I expect one of them, if not both of them, to be gone. I think it's more likely that they're both gone than they're both here. And that's not me advocating for that. I think they're both good players. But moving on from them would save the Jaguars just in 2025 over $16 million in cap space. That's a huge number. And that would put the Jaguars over $50 million in cap space. It would give this new regime the ability to create this football team in their image from day one, both via free agency and the draft. And those aren't the only mechanisms the Jaguars have to create more space. They can create more space by moving on from several other players as well. And I think they're going to be very active in trying to flip this roster and turn it over into a roster that fits what they're looking for a little bit more. A roster, again, that's built in the image of what Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Boselli want. I think they're going to be more focused on the lines of scrimmage and do a better job on the lines of scrimmage. I also think the secondary is going to be a major piece of this. I think that's going to be one of the bigger focuses of the Jaguars offseason. You look at the Jaguars' current depth chart, at corner and safety. It's not great. You have, obviously, some guys you feel very good about. Tyson Campbell, you feel very good about. This is a starting caliber corner in this league, a plus starting caliber corner in this league. You also have Jarian Jones, who stepped up in a big way at nickel last year. There's no question about it. He is your nickel moving forward. I think he's going to play the game in a way that gets new defensive coordinator Anthony Campanile excited, in a way that gets the entire new regime excited. I think both of those guys are locked in as starters. Who else is a starter? Andre Sisco set to be a free agent. Darnell Savage at safety. Dewey Wingard at safety. Antonio Johnson. Daniel Thomas. I don't think that either of the Jaguars starting safeties for 2025 are on the roster. And again, this is my prediction. This is me projecting. This is not exactly how I would play it out, although I think the Jaguars are going to see this kind of similarly to me. I don't think either starting safety is on the roster. And you've heard some buzz that Savage will be more in that nickel role with Jarian, maybe competing there, pushing each other. I think Jarian would win that. And, I would like to see Antonio Johnson more in that big nickel role. Clear rush downs, getting Antonio Johnson out there the way he was as a rookie, and he did a really good job in that regard. But, opposite Tyson Campbell, you currently have Buster Brown and Darby, DeAndre Prince as depth. I don't think it's very likely that Darby's on the roster. Either way, I don't think he's going to be viewed by this group, this regime, as a clear starting option. I don't think they're going to view Buster Brown as a clear starting option. I don't think DeAndre Prince is either. Although I think out of those three, DeAndre Prince has the most upside because he is a hell of an athlete and he's young. I think Buster Brown is fine depth. I think if you wanted to keep Ronald Darby as depth, I wouldn't be against it. I just kind of look at they could save over $2 million by moving on and and just kind of, again, trying to create this secondary more in the image that they want. I do think that when you talk about special teams, the back end of the roster, that's another part of it. Does Ronald Darby want to be out there on special teams a whole lot? I don't know. I do think Heath Farwell would advocate for having Dewey, Daniel Thomas, and Antonio Johnson as big time special teams contributors on this roster at the very least, but I don't think any of those guys is going to be a starter for the Jaguars at safety. So I think you're looking at needing two safeties, and not just depth safeties, starting caliber safeties, and a starting outside corner. That's a huge piece of the puzzle for the Jaguars. And again, they have a lot of cap space and a lot of draft capital to be able to go do this thing. We're going to start out looking at free agency and also talk about what I would guess they try to do in the draft. I think in free agency, they're going to try to sign a starting outside corner and a starting safety. And we've talked about both of the guys I'm going to bring up here quite a bit. We'll start off at corner. This is the name that has been most connected to the Jaguars by the most sources out of any player set to hit free agency by a wide margin. And that is Carlton Davis, the former Detroit Lions corner, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneers corner. Carlton Davis coming off of I think it was a broken jaw or dislocated jaw. So it wasn't like an injury situation that you look at and you're like, oh, ACL, hamstring, anything like that. It was kind of a freak accident. But Carlton Davis, 28 years old. So that's in the age range you feel comfortable with in free agency. I don't think that the corner the Jaguars sign is going to be viewed as someone that has to be a long-term piece, but someone who can play the way that they want to play right now while they kind of get someone else ready and prepared, someone that they're going to draft to potentially be a starter in the next few years, right? So age, I don't think has to be that big of a factor as long as you're feeling like this guy can come in and get it done at a high level for you. And I think the Jaguars will view Carlton Davis very positively for a few reasons. A, he is a good cover corner, 6'1", 206. He has really good length as well, and he's a great run defender. Now, you talk about pairing up Tyson Campbell and Carlton Davis, and now you've got two big physical corners who play the run at an extremely high level and both of them can be physical at the line, at the top of the route, and again, coming downhill, firing downhill against the run. I really like that pairing quite a bit. The one thing you could say about Carlton Davis is he's not the speediest guy, but with the way he sees the game and plays, I think he plays a little bit faster than his 4.5 340-yard dash would suggest. And with his physicality, I think that aids him in a big way as well. And so I think, yes, Carlton Davis, I expect, best guess, is going to be the Jaguars corner that they sign opposite Tyson Campbell. He makes sense from a skill set standpoint. He makes sense based on, obviously the rumors and reports that we've heard from multiple sources that Carlton Davis is someone to keep an eye on for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's a little bit too much smoke to ignore that. And so I'm predicting Carlton Davis will be a Jaguar. We have no idea how this will play out. There's a lot of cornerbacks that are going to be on the market. But again, this is my best guess. Carlton Davis to the Jaguars as their starting cornerback opposite Tyson Campbell. And I think that's something to get excited about. I think he's a good football player. We will talk about the starting safety I expect the Jaguars to pursue and land, and the draft following this reminder about Underdog Fantasy this basketball season. When your favorite stars score buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward. Signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code DuvalDaily, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Tonight, my Magic taking on the Raptors. Definitely going to be looking at Paolo Banchero's points. Probably going to say Paolo Banchero is going to score more than expected. Did not have a very big game against the Raptors last time out. I'm expecting him to go off. But yeah, that's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. It must be 18 plus, 90 plus, Alabama, Nebraska, 90 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus, Massachusetts and Arizona and President State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. So Carlton Davis, I'm predicting it will be a Jaguar. I think he'll probably be in the $15 to $17 million range as a corner at 28 years old in the prime of his career. I'm good with it. And again, if you haven't been paying attention, the way the Jaguars are able to structure contracts, thanks to Shad Khan's willingness to get these signing bonuses and, write big checks, 35 to 40% of the average annual value, generally speaking. If you're talking about, let's say on the high end, a $17 million deal for Carlton Davis, $17 million per year, probably over 3 years, something like that. 17 times 0.04 on the high end. That is, 17 times 0.4 on the high end. That's $6.8 million cap hit for 2025. That is negligible. That is not a lot for a guy who has the type of talent and production and resume that Carlton Davis brings to the table. And you look at cornerback contracts in the NFL, I expect them to rise a little bit with the rising cap, right? I expect just contracts to be probably just a little bit more than maybe we were expecting, with the cap going up a little bit higher than was expected. But cornerbacks, if you signed him to a $17 million deal right now, that would actually keep him in the same spot he is from a ranking standpoint in the league. That would put him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That would make him the 13th highest paid corner in football at $17 million per year. Maybe you have to go up to 18, but again, that's a negligible difference. I don't think he's getting more than that. And that's not going to have a major impact on your cap, long or short term. Really, you'll have a 2-year out. And I think that's the type of play the Jaguars will make. And then you look at the safety I expect the Jaguars to make a run at and probably be able to bring in. It's Javon Holland, the Miami Dolphins safety, former Miami Dolphins safety, who they're going to let test free agency. Javon Holland, I think, has familiarity with this coaching staff. He loves Anthony Campanile. I would have to imagine Anthony Campanile loves him. I think they both are wired similarly. I think Javon Holland wants to compete at the highest level. I think he respects Campanile. Like when Campanile got hired to be the Jaguars, he posted on Instagram, one of the best in the game. So these are two guys very familiar with each other, spent a few years together in Miami. I think Javon Holland at his peak is a safety who can line up in the box at nickel or as a true free safety, single high type of guy. A lot of versatility, good tackler, great range, great instincts. I just love the way he plays the game, and I think the Jaguars will prioritize bringing him in. And looking at how much he's going to cost, not coming off the best year of his career, in fact, the worst year of his career from a metrics and PFF grade standpoint. I watched the tape on him. I still think he played really damn good. So I'm guessing he's still going to be, whether he's, setting the market at maybe like 22 million or coming in a little under that, maybe around $20 million. Either way, again, being able to sign one of the top players at their position, at a position that's undervalued monetarily, I think is a good way to do it, especially with Javon Holland being such a young player, a fiery player, a leader in the room, and somebody who the Jaguars have a lot of familiarity with thanks to their coaching. Let's say on the high end, it's 22. That's talking about, and for him, with his age, with his production, you're probably talking about a 4-year deal, maybe 5, but probably 4 if I had to guess. 22 million times 0.4, that's $8.8 million cap hit. So bringing in both of those guys doesn't have a huge impact on the cap, but it does have a huge impact on your ability to play good football. And I think Javon Holland would be a home run for the Jaguars if they're able to land him. And again, I think that they're going to try. You saw a little bit of smoke about that recently, and the connections are obvious, and the need is obvious. And they have plenty of space to do it. Now, in the draft, like I said, I don't think the corner that the Jaguars add in free agency necessarily has to be viewed by the team as a long-term piece. If the guy comes in and balls out and just a fit, Carlton Davis, and you want to keep him around longer than you have to, yeah, absolutely. But I also think the Jaguars are going to try to make bets on younger prospects. I think that in the third round range could make sense, like a Darian Porter, someone who also brings a lot of length, athleticism, upside. Darian Porter out of Iowa State. That could make sense for them. And then I think if you go get a Javon Holland, Lathan Ransom could make a lot of sense out of Ohio State, who I do project more as like a true box safety. And it's not that Javon Holland can't play in the box. He can. He has the versatility. But I think Lathan Ransom as a box safety or a two-high guy, you're not asking him to be that single high middle of the field player. I think, he plays with his hair on fire. He will hit you, head up, form tackle, and knock you into next week. So I think Lathan Ransom would be the type of guy that could target who plays fast, right? And plays aggressive. And I think he has good ball vision, which Anthony Campanile talks about a lot. So those are two types of guys I could see the Jaguars targeting a little bit later on. To Lathan Ransom to come in and compete to start right away. Darian Porter to grow in the Jaguars system and potentially become a very, very good starter for the team. That's how I'm viewing it right now. But again, free agency, I expect the Jaguars to pursue a starting corner and a starting safety. And my best guess right now is Carlton Davis and Javon Holland. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.